All right, greetings everyone, and thank you for joining me today, and welcome to JS Days 2024. I hope you are enjoying this great event. It's a pleasure to be part of that as a speaker. Thanks for your audience. My name is Wemerson Januario from Brazil. I'm a developer advocate at Sencha and also CIO at Novante, a constance and software house company in Brazil. I'm JavaScript developer since 2008 and Sencha Ext JS specialist since version 2.0 of the framework. In all these past years, I increased my skills and became senior developer, constant trainer, and also MVP. I have been product manager some years ago, and now I lead our developer and customer community to provide better relationships to customers and developers. Today, we are going to talk about one of the most revolutionary platforms in the realm of the app development. So it's a pleasure to guide you through this introduction to a powerful tool that has transformed the way we build and scale web app and mobile application. To get started, I'm going to show you my agenda for this presentation. So we are going to do one overview of the Google Firebase. We are going to set up a Firebase project and also demo a Sencha ExtJS application with the Firebase authentication. And in the end, we are going to explore the demo project source code. And if you have some question, you can ask them in our chat and question panel. You can see in this tool. And in the end of this session, I will try to answer all the questions you may have. All right? So what is Google Firebase? With Google Firebase, you can build better apps, you can improve your app quality, and you can also grow your application. You can see that Google Firebase has some cool service that can help you create better application without server-side codes. So Google Firebase, in summary, is a comprehensive app development platform that offers an array of services and tools for developers. Firebase has stood out for its ease of use, scalability, and the ability of unify various features into a single platform. So in one platform, you have all these services. For example, you have some service that they offer it. For example, real-time database. So with real-time database, you can allow you to store and sync data in a real-time enable creation of reactive and collaborative application. You can use Firestore. So Firestore, it's something like a Firebase NoSQL database, providing horizontal scalability to meet the demands of growing application. You can also use Firebase Authentication. This is the service we are going to cover in this session today. So with this Google Firebase Authentication service is one service that simplifies the authentication process, offering secure and customizable methods to authenticate user in your application. You can also see Firebase Cloud Functions that allow you to the execution of backend code without the need for a dedicated server. You can also use Firebase hosting that facilitates the quick and secure hosting of a static and dynamic web application. So in summary, this is all the service and many service Google Firebase provide. You can also use analytics. You can also use prediction. You can use cloud messaging, in-app messaging, A to B testing, dynamic links. So you can explore the documentation and check all the service they provide. They have some free plans for to use. This is the best thing, and they also have some paid plans, so you can check what is the best is for you. In this session today, you are going to use the free plan, the Spark plan, so you can do some authentication using a ExtJS application. We are going to see how to log in, how to recover your password, how to sign up to your platform using Google Authentication. All right? What is Google Firebase? We are going to move forward to explain how Google Firebase authentication works. So Google Firebase authentication aims to make building a secure application system easy while improving the sign-in and onboarding experience for end users. It provides an end-to-end identifying solution, supporting email and password accounts, phone health, and Google, Twitter, Facebook, GitHub, login, and more, like I said. So this is the Google Authentication service. So to get started, you can check the Google Firebase platform here. So for example, if you are starting now, you can just type Google Firebase and you can click in this first link. You are going to see this page. So this is the home page for the Google Firebase product. You can see here the pricing, the documentation for each product. You can see all the products provided from Firebase, and you can check the console page. This is the most important page we are going to check today. So in this page, you can create your first project. First, you need to create your project on the Google Firebase console, and after that you can get your credentials and integrate into your JavaScript application or mobile application. So they provide some kind of codes for all the platforms: iOS, phone, JavaScript, Java, many languages you can integrate your application. So in this session, you are going to use the Google Authentication to integrate to an JavaScript application that was made using Sencha Ext JS framework. If you don't know the Sencha Ext JS framework, so the Ext JS framework is provided by Sencha. So you can type sencha.com and you can learn and check this amazing framework to create rich application using JavaScript, right? So in the end of this talk, I'm going to show you the source code for the application that we created using this amazing framework. Given that you know what is Google Firebase and all the service, it's time to answer the question, why choose Firebase for authentication in our JavaScript apps? We have many benefits here. So I'm going to highlight the key benefits for using Firebase authentication package. So you can see ease integration. You can integrate the authentication methods with your application. We have cross-platform compatibility. We have diverse authentication methods. For example, you can use the authentication by using email and password, and also social networks like Facebook, like Google, like GitHub login. We have a secure and scalable methods and platform that you don't need to worry about while you're writing server-side code to, for example, creating database for user. You don't need to worry about the security and all the authentication system you need to write on your server side. So this platform will provide everything for you in a good way. You have real-time updates, third-party integration. If you already have one built-in authentication system, you can also integrate it with Firebase. We have authentication state persistence, so you can, for example, listen for events when a user just logged in or logged out. So you can listen all these events and also handle with this persistence. And you can also save this kind of persistence in your local storage or like a session. For example, if the user just closed the window, you can log it out the user. So we have all the authentication state persistence built in inside this tool. Also, you have authentication analytics, so you can check how user is performing inside your application. And the best thing here, we have one free tier and pricing. So overall, Firebase simplifies the authentication process for JavaScript apps, offering a robust and feature-rich solution with a minimal development effort. Well, now let's get started setting up a Firebase project. I will split this session in three guides. First, creating a Firebase project on the Firebase console. After, we are going to obtain the Firebase configuration, then we can use this configuration inside our application. And in the end, we are going to configure our Firebase in our JavaScript app. All right? Let's move to the Google Firebase console. You can click go to console. And now the first thing we are going to do is create our project. So when you create this project, you can take advantage of all the service Google Firebase provides to you. So click on Add Project. So the first thing we need to create and give our project a name. So I'm going to give JS Days 24 for this project. I click Continue. Here, if you want, you can enable this and use all the Google Analytics for this project. I don't need this right now. The main purpose of this is just to use the authentication system Google Firebase provide. Create project. Now let's wait for the project preparation. It seems to be very fast creating. Now it's finished up the project creation. After that, you can see the message. All right, your Firebase project is ready. Good. Now we can open the project and we have this dashboard here. So you can see, you can get started by adding our Firebase to our application. So you can add, if you are developing an iOS application, you can click here. One Android application, you can click here. Or if you are using web technology, you can click here. So let's register our app. I selected, you can see, I'm going to select web. So now let's give a name to our application. So I'm going to also say JS Days 24 for the application name. I don't need to set up a Firebase hosting here, but if you want, you can also check this and you can use the Firebase hosting for this app. In this case, I'm going to show you the application running in my local host machine. Now, register the app. Okay, it's very easy to move forward and start coding and integrate Google Authentication to our application. So the steps number 2 here, we need to add the SDK for the Firebase solution. So you can use NPM or also use one script tag inside your HTML page, right? So for example, you can install the Firebase if you're using one JavaScript node based application. You just need to install the Firebase application. And here you can initialize your Firebase and begin using the SDK for products you would like to use. So you can import, but in our application, the main information here we need here is this kind of information. This is all the Firebase configuration the platform provide to us. So I just need to copy and paste this in my application. So I can copy and paste this Google Firebase configuration here. Now you are going to see the application source code and how we just integrated the Google Firebase inside our application. Here you can see my VS Code and we have one Ext JS application created. So this is the app folder structure here. So if you'd like to know how to create one Ext JS application, you can go to the Sencha.com website and follow the documentation here. For example, you can go to the Sencha.com, you can click Docs. In the Docs, you are going to see all the products Sencha provide. After that, you select the ExtJS framework version and product here. I'm going to select the latest one. And you have here getting started using NPM. So here, if you follow these steps, you are going to create the application. And here, in the end of this documentation, you are going to have one Hello World application. I have already created this application. And in the index.js file, I just copy and paste the Firebase config. I open the index.js file. I have required the before that I just installed the Firebase. I just run the command npm install Firebase, so you can see here when you create the Sencha Ext JS application, all the requirements is here. The dependence for you are including the Ext JS framework, source code, the modern toolkit, the material theme, and in the end, you just install the Firebase package. The Ext.js application here is created and bundled using Webpack, so we are using require to require our Firebase app package, and we are also requiring the Firebase auth package. So I just copied and paste this configuration here. First, I just initialize the application given the Firebase config we have copied from our console. After that, I just initialize the auth system here, and I just pass it in the first parameter of the initialize auth method, the Firebase app instance, and here I can use the persistence, how the authentication system will persist in our application. So I am choose browser local persistence. So when you log into our application, you are going to save all the information in our local storage, right? Okay, so this is how to configure the application. Here, I'm going to explore our application. First, we have the app folder, the desktop folder, and here we have the application. So you can see everything. When you create your Ext.js application, you are going to see this application. This is the root and the base file to start up the application. We have one viewport here, one viewport controller. This application is using MVVM technology, so this is very easy and rich feature you have in the framework. We have the init method. So for example, when the application just init, we are listing one auth state event here, for example. So while the auth state changed, we are firing one global event here, so user and the developer can check and listen and handle everything you want to do when some auth state changed, right? So in the launch application, we are just destroy the loader, and after that we are launching the application. Here we have our viewport, the shared folder. We have the viewport, and the viewport is one controller that will handle all the things we need to work on this application. But let's see our application design. I am using the Ext JS plugin for Ext JS, so you can build your application by using drag and drop all the components here. So I have the main view. So this is the main view after the user just logged in. So I have created one logout button. You can split the view. You can see the source code for this. I'm going to close here, close here. So this is the main view. Now I have also created one auth folder here, and inside this auth folder I have all the authentication system screens here. I have created one base auth screen. If you click here, you're going to see maybe one background for our application. We have our base form. We have our login view. So you can see that this login view was created by a form and using Google Material Theme. I'm going to see the source code for this view. If you would like to add new fields, you can drag and drop here. So in this login window, you can see the username field, you can see the password field, you have one button, you have one link to register, you have one link to if you forgot your password, and I have also created one third party and social login here so you can log in with your Google credentials, right? So let's see the source code for this login screen. So this login screen, it has only the view source code. You are not seeing all the Google Firebase yet. You are just designing the screen. So this is the source code for the view. So you have one login view that's extend from auth. We're requiring some components from Ext JS here. Now we have a form. For example, I am listing for the key map enter key. So when you enter your key, enter, you are going to run the onLogin tab method. And this method is on our auth controller. If we check the auth controller here, we have all the functionality that when you tap or click the login button, everything will made here in our controller. We are just programming, validating the form, and also using the Google Firebase to sign our user in, right? After that, we have the register view. So the register view is the same of login view. So you have the name, the email field, the password, and the register button. And we have one go to login link so you can move to another route and go back to our login page. So I'm going to show you the source code for the register view. So this register view is almost the same the login view. We are also extended from auth base class. We are requiring some components we need to use on this screen. In the items object, we have the form that we are also using in reutilizing the same auth base form. And also the same logic, when you hit enter, you are going to create account button tap. So this method was added in our auth controller. We have one auth header, we have one name field, one email field that is required, the label, some validators, the password field, and in the end we have one submit button with the text register. When you click on this button, we are calling the same method we call when you hit the enter key. And we also have one login link to go back to our route system. All right, so let's now, I have just started this application and this application is running in our local host. So now I'm going to show you how the application is working, and after that we go back to explore all the methods we need to use for Google Firebase authentication. Okay, our application is now running on localhost on port 2020, and you can see all the amazing application ExtJS just created for us. So we have one field here, one password here, one login button. If you click here, all the required and the validator is provided by the framework, so I don't need to worry about that. If I click on register here, you can see our route here is login. So if you click on register here, you are going to move to the register screen, and you can enter your name, your password, your email, and click register. If you'd like to go back, you can click login. If you just forgot your password, you can click here and you see this another screen called forgot password. You can see that the route just moved here, and you can specify your email, and one email instruction will be sent to your inbox. Then you can recover your password, and everything in background will be will do by Firebase authentication service, right? So I'm going to log in here. So for example, Now let's go to, given that you are seeing the screen we have created using the Ext JS application. Now let's go to the Google console again and check some configuration and enable our authentication system. Moving back to our Firebase console, so I have already copied and pasted this information here. Now I continue to our console. Okay, so here are some services and features we can use on our application we have just created minutes ago. So I would like to use the authentication to manage users. So I'm going to click here. And for example, authenticate and manage user from a variety of providers without a server code, right? So I can get started. Okay, so in this application, we are going to use email and password provider. So I'm just going to enable it, save. Now we have the email and password service enabled. Let's, for example, if you would like to use one multi-factor SMS authentication, you can also use it. I'm going to use a new provider here. Now I am going to use the Google login social network here. So I'm going to click here. So we have some important notes here to enable Google sign-in for your Android apps. If you are developing one Android app, you must provide the one fingerprint to that. So in this case, we are not using Android, we are using one web application. So the only thing I'm going to do here is just to create and enable it. Here's the project name. So I'm going to select my email, my Google account email to support the email for the project. You can explore here. I don't need this right now. I also don't need this. The next step is just to click save and let's see what happened. Okay, now the Google Authenticator provider is just enabled. So we have email, password, and Google authentication system. Okay, if you click on this user tab panel, we can manually add user. So you can also manage your user using the Firebase console here. You can add the email and the password, and Google Firebase will create one user for you. Or we can create it by our application, by programming. Let's check. Moving back to our application source code, let's get started with our register view. So after you have configured you have set up your project with the Google Firebase config information here, we are now ready to use the SDK. So I'm going to explore my view called register view. And here we have one register view screen. I'm going to split view to see the source code and see that we have only the view design source code here. You can check that we have one submit button here. When you click on this, we just call the onCreateAccount button tap method. And this method was written in our auth controller. If I go to the auth controller, you can see that I have one view controller that are controlling all my authentication view screens. So I have all the methods to log in, to create account, and also forgot password here. For example, when I click on the register button, I just call this method. And this method is just simple. I'm just validating the form. First, I'm going to I'm getting the form by the reference. I'm getting the values. So after validation, I am just masking the screen. So just to give the user one feedback that something is processing, something like a loading message. And I just call the create user with email and password method from the Firebase SDK. So this namespace was defined on our index file when you first configured and set up your project here, when we initialized the SDK. So now, after doing that, we can use all the Firebase SDK in the application. So moving back to the auth controller, we call this method, and this method will need to pass two parameters. The first is the auth instance, the second is the email, and the third method is the password. So if the creation of the user is successfully, we are just unmasking the screen and say, hey, the user just was created. We are updating the profile, passing the full name to the display name property, and then we just firing one registered event to our application. So this is just to a better control. I am just firing that someone just registered. And in our viewport controller, I listen for many globals events here. So I have one event for login, for logout, one another for registered, password reset sent. For example, when our user is registered, I just call the method on account created. So let's check this method on account created. So after I have the event fired, I am just initiating the session. I'm redirecting the user to the main view and just alerting the user that login was created successfully, right? The initiate method is very, very simple here. For example, let's check how is what the initiate session do. We are just saving the session. We are redirecting to the original route. When you call the save session just save on our local storage that the user is logged in, and we are binding and filling our view model and setting our current user as the user we have received from the SDK from Firebase Authentication, right? So let's check this in action. So I'm going to register one user, and I'm going to fill my user, my name. I'm going to fill my email, and I'm going to choose one password. You can see that the validator is already working. I'm going to choose one password here and click register. Okay, so it seems to be working. When I click register, you can see that I was moved to our home page, and you can see this welcome screen. You can click log out, and now let's check in our Google Firebase console if the user was really created. Let's go to the authentication here in our project, and you can see that we have one new user using the provider email and password. The user was created today. Let's sign it in. The universal ID for this user. You can reset the password. You can disable this account. You can delete this account manually. So this is how Google Firebase Authentication works. So now, given that we have one user, you can now log in. Let's check how login works. I'm going to log out and go to the login page. I'm going to fill my username, and I'm going to fill one wrong password, anything here, and try to hit login button. Okay, we have one failed message that invalid credentials. Please check and try again. So now let's explore how I have created the login functionality. Moving back to our VS Code, we have the login view here. This is the login view. And the source code for the login view, it's here. When you click on the login button, we are just calling the onLogin tap method. This method is here on our Auth controller. And when you click on login tap, you are doing the same logic. We are just calling a different method. Now we are calling the sign with email and password credentials. So if the user logged in, we are firing on one event, and we are catching some errors here. For example, if Google Firebase send us one message, one error code, for example, auth missing password, I am showing this alert to the user. So I can handle and catch all the error messages here. So this is the only thing I need to do to authenticate my username. Just need to call this method, pass the auth instance, and also email and password. So now let's try to fill the correct password. I'm going now to fill the correct password and try to hit again. Invalid credentials. Let me check again. Oops. I guess I wrote something wrong here. Let's create a new, let's reset the password or remove this username here and create a new password because I don't remember the password. Okay, I'm going to delete the username here. Now I'm going to register again with my name. Okay. Okay, registered, log out. Now I'm going to try to log in again with this user. Login. Okay, it works. So I was writing my password wrong. So now I could log into our application and I can log out. Now let's explore how forgot password works. Let's say that you forgot your password. Now we need to recover it. So I click here. I can see this screen. I'm going to inform my email here and click send. But before send, let's explore and see how it was made. I have the forgot password screen here using the same logic and design from login and register screen. Let's see the source code here. The source code for the reset password is the same. When you click on the submit button, we are just calling the forgot password button tap function. And this function is in our auth controller. Let's check the method. And it's the method that we just recover the password. We are doing the same logic. We are validating the form, we are checking if something is wrong, masking the screen, and also calling the send password reset email method from the SDK, from the Firebase auth package. We are passing the auth instance and specifying the email. Then, if everything works, we are unmasking the screen and firing one global event called password reset sent. And in our viewport controller, we have one method that handle this password reset email sent that just redirect us to the login page and alert the user that we have sent a link to your email address. Please check your inbox. So let's check in action. Okay, so I have filled my email here. I'm going to click send, and I can see the message. you can see that the application was redirected to our login page, and we can see the alert as a success message. We have sent a link to your email address. Please check your inbox. Google Firebase will send you one email to your inbox so you can recover your password. Everything is done in background using Google Firebase. So, for example, if I go in my account here, I can see the email here from Google. If I click here, you can see, hello, follow this link to reset your project password for your username. So if you click here, you are going to be redirected to the Firebase application here, and you can reset your password. Let's check what is happening here. Oh, okay. So this is because we need to enable the reset password here. So if everything works, you are going to see one screen to recover your password. Okay. Now let's check how we are going to do to authenticate using Google Firebase. Let's go back to our login screen. You can see that we have one login with Google here. This login with Google button will call, let's check what the method this button will call when it's have a click event. So I'm going to split view, and when your Google login button is pressed, we are just calling the on Google login tap method. I'm going now to move to the auth controller and check what we are doing here on Google login tap. We are just creating one Google provider. Here we create one instance for the Google provider, and now I am just calling the sign in with pop-up and specifying the Google provider and finding the same event login. Let's see how it works. Okay, login with Google. So when you click here, take a look. Google Firebase will open one pop-up, then you can easily log in with your Google account to this project. So I'm going to log in with this. I click here. I can continue here. I'm going to allow my Google account to log in, and everything works as expected. So if I click log out, the user will be logged out. For example, if I log in with another account, Google Firebase will create a new account for me and also log in my user. So I'm going to choose a different email here. Now I'm going to use my Sencha domain username. I'm going to allow Google to authenticate this app. Continue, and works. Now I am logged with a different user, and if you go to the console and reload your table, users table, you can see that we have two different users. One is one Gmail and another one is Sencha.com, and both are using Google provider to authenticate user. So now, to fix the problem we found when we were trying to reset our password, it's very, very simple. You just need to remove the provider and add again. You can go to the Firebase console. You can remove each provider here, delete provider, and re-add both again. And everything should work as expected. Let's try. I have already removed it and add the providers again. I'm going now to fill my username, try to send. I'm going to check my inbox, and I can see the email here. I'm going to click on this link, and now we can see this form. Then we can reset our password. I'm going to change my password to a new one, click save. Okay, now I'm going to try to log in again with my old password, and let's try if it is working. I'm going to fill my old password. This is the invalid credential message. Now I'm going to fill with my new password I have changed by email. Login, and it works. So this is Google Firebase Authentication, and finally, now we are going to see how the logout function works. So we have in our main view one logout button, and in this button we are going to call one method that will just log out the user and queue the session. Let's see the code for the main view. We have one toolbar here, and when we click on the logout button, we are just calling the onLogout button tap. And the controller that are handling this method is main view controller. I'm going to open this controller here, and I am just firing one event called logout. And in my viewport controller, when I listen for the logout event, I am just calling the onLogout. And let's see what we are doing here. When we click logout, the event is fired. We are just getting the view, getting the session. We are masking the screen and calling the sign out method from the auth instance from the Google Firebase Authentication API, right? So then we are terminating the session, killing and also cleaning our local storage, unmasking the screen, and redirecting user to the login page, all right? So this is when you click on the login button, we are just redirecting the login and also killing the local storage object we have on it, right? Okay, guys, so this is everything I would like to show and share with you guys today in this session. So I hope you can enjoy this session and can power your application. You can do this using any kind of application of any other framework. Okay, so if you'd like to connect with me, here my LinkedIn, my email address, my GitHub, and if you'd like to explore in deep this project source code, here is the source code, the GitHub link, so you can explore and check everything. All right, so thank you for joining this event. I hope you could enjoy, and now I am open to answer your questions if you have. Thank you. Bye bye.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Wemerson. Awesome session. Let's have a quick look. Questions. Can you hear me, Wemerson?
Hello, Stephen. Yes, I can.
Hey,
Thanks.
brilliant.
Nice to know. Thanks for everyone. Do we have some questions for that?
Yes, we do. So let me have a quick look at what we've got here. So first question in here, somebody's asking, how can I handle user authentication state changes in a Firebase project?
Okay, all right, good question. So I have just aborted this case in our demo, but not in deep. But to handle user authentication state changes in a Firebase project, you can use your Firebase authentication, and you can use the on-off state change method provided by the SDK. So when this method is triggered, whenever the user sign in state change, allow you to update your application UI and or perform some action accordingly. So you just need to listen for the on-off state change, and when this event is fired, you can listen, and also, for example, if you log in or if you log out, you are going to be informed about that on the on-off state change. It's very simple.
Okay, awesome. Let's have a quick look. There is another question popped up here. This is the first time I'm seeing Ext JS framework. Seems to be pretty complete, which is cool. I'm just trying to see Can you explain what it is possible to create with and how the licensing works with it?
Okay, so you are talking about the Sencha Ext JS framework. Okay, the Sencha framework is the framework I have used on this presentation. So it's a very, very huge and complete framework by Sencha. So you can access sencha.com and also go into the getting started. So you can check, you're going to receive an email to get started. So you can install your application, create your first application. You can also see how the license works. We have one GPL license, we have one community license, we have one commercial that you can provide two plans. One is the one enterprise and another is one standard price. So if you are doing a commercial application, you can check with the sales guys about that. And the framework is one built-in framework that we have many complete and rich component that you can create your application, like charts, like components, form, grid panel, pivot grid, some premium components. So it's a very huge. So you just need to go to sencha.com and get started and check our documentation. You are going to go through the documentation and check everything you need to know to get started.
Okay, yeah. There's a couple of questions around security here. I think if I kind of sum, it's 2 or 3 questions, I'll just sum them together, but they basically seem to be asking, you know, when it comes to the security of user authentication, is there kind of any specific best practices around using Firebase projects, especially where there's kind of scenarios where you might have kind of sensitive user data?
Yes, so securing user authentication, especially in scenarios involving sensitive user data, is crucial, right? So here are several strategies to enhance your security of user authentication in a Firebase project. So you have to keep in mind that you have some strong password policies. You have also it's also a good idea to enable multi-factor authentication, or something like MFA. Also implement account lockouts mechanism. So it's a good technique to power your auth system. You can also encrypt sensitive user data on the front-end side. You can also regularly update Firebase at SDK, so you are avoiding some bugs from Firebase products. You can implement HTTPS and secure connections for that. Use Firebase security rules. This is one also very important feature you can use, some rules for that. Monitor authentication logs every time, implement session management, regular security audits, monthly or weekly, I don't know. And also educate users on security best practices. So this is by combining these strategies, you can create robust security posture for user authentication with your Firebase project, safeguarding sensitive user data and also providing a secure user experience.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think one of the things that was quite cool with the demo is actually you've not had to build any of the back end. You haven't got like back end to manage and maintain and support. You're literally able to use the infrastructure that's there, use it as a microservice in essence, just to be able to say, right, I need to be able to do this. Let's just use this one. Great, that's that outsourced. It's managed. It's got best practices running through it. It's got people all the way around the world working with it, running with it, so it's solid from day one. It's one less thing to worry about as you're building your application, getting going. So that was pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah, there's a Paul says, Wemerson, that demo was on fire. A great pun. Well done, Paul. Thanks very much for sharing this with us. Sam says, yeah, great session. Is Google Firebase free? How does the pricing work with it? I think you mentioned something about pricing earlier.
Yes, it's free. So you also have one paid plan. So for example, the free version, you are limited to some quota, some number of authentication per month. So you can check the Google Firebase pricing table and go and check. But with free version, you can go far away with that.
Yeah, so basically, the free version is great to get up and running with. It helps you prototype and move on. And if you get that many users that you need to worry about paying a fee for it, congratulations. Okay. yeah, a few other thank yous just coming through.
All right, Stephen. So I would like to thank you for this amazing event. So